Hey guys, it's Becky with Design Bundles, and today I'm super excited to bring you one of my favorite projects ever. I do them all the time. We use them for home decor, office decor, gifts, or even just to have a good time. So I'm talking about hot mess canvases. Hot mess canvases are so cheap, easy, and you really get a fantastic project at the end. I love to do it with kids. It's like my go-to kid project, but I have to admit that it's pretty relaxing for me as well. So we are going to be using a canvas today, but don't forget you can actually apply this concept to any type of surface, right? So we are also showing you this in Silhouette Studio, but remember that all the same concepts apply even if you are joining us in Cricut Design Space. So let's go ahead and jump on over and get started.
Okay, so I have already opened my SVG file, and you can use virtually any file that you want, but just keep in mind that even after we paint the canvas, small pieces of vinyl probably aren't the best idea. So this is probably the most detail I would go for a hot mess canvas. So that's what we're going to do. But let's go ahead and size it. I'm first going to draw a rectangle, and then I'm going to open my transform panel, and the second icon is scale, and I'm going to unlock my aspect ratio, and we are going to say 10 inches wide by 8 inches high. Now I can bring over my file and use the little handle right here and just size it down to whatever I think is going to look good on my canvas. So if I center that, I am pretty happy with it. Now, let me say that we are using a canvas panel, but if you're using a regular stretch canvas that is open on the inside, then you may want to make your design a little bit smaller. And the reason I say that is because you'll be able to flip it over and burnish from the back, but you won't be able to do as good of a job if your design overlaps where the wood frame is and the middle also. So just keep that in mind. But I really enjoy testing it out on these canvas panels because they're both cheap and versatile to work with. So let's go ahead and we will make this our weeding box. Now what you're going to see is me cutting without a mat, but if you cut with a mat, that's completely fine. So I'm going to click over to my send panel, and everything looks good. I do want to change my material to vinyl glossy, and I'm not on the auto blade, I'm on a ratchet blade. So now I can proceed to cut, and then we will weed this out and reconvene over there by our canvas.
So what we have here is, this is just an 8x10 canvas, and then we have some various color paints. Now I did choose fall colors, and we're going to put just a little bit of this on our butcher paper. Now if you have a little palette that you like to use or anything like that, go ahead and do that. But we are just going to use the very basic, put everything right in our work area. There we go. Okay, and I'm just using these cheap brushes, but I have one for each color. And then I also have some of these sticks because I actually want to combine some of my colors. Now all this is just completely up to you. You can just buy your colors ready to go, whatever you decide, but I just like to use this opportunity to unleash my artistic side. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to do stripes, and I'm going to start with the orange, and I'm just giving myself a little guide on how these stripes are going to go, and then I can come back in. Now I do not want my paint to be thick. If you get to the end of your project and you realize that your paint is on too thick, then you will either have to wipe some of the paint off or wait for it to dry overnight. So if you can, just try to do a thin layer of paint. It's even better to do multiple thin layers than it is to do one thick layer, okay? Now, this does not have to be anything special. In fact, in my experience, the more random, the better. And that's why it's called a hot mess, because it's supposed to be messy. Not messy like on your person messy, but just messy. So if you feel like your colors are too thin, I actually think this is a pretty thin coat. What we can do is go ahead and let this dry, and then we will come back and add a second coat to it. Okay, so here we are. Our paint is all dry. I did apply 2 coats, and I'm very happy with that. And then I have cut and weeded our design. Now I used orange permanent adhesive vinyl, and that's because we are going to paint white as our top coat. So I wanted to choose a darker color that I would be able to see underneath the white paint. So we're going to smooth this down into place, and we might have to wrestle with it a little bit, but we are going to hopefully leave it on our canvas. Okay, once you have the transfer tape off, because let's face it, that's not the easiest thing in the world to do. You want to go around and make sure that your entire design is still smoothed down into place. Okay, once everything is smoothed down, we are going to come in with our white paint. And the very first thing that we're going to do is dab. Now, if you've ever watched any of my painting videos before, you know that I am a fan of dabbing because it usually will keep you from accidentally forcing paint underneath your vinyl. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're like, Becky, I just got done painting this really gorgeous design on my canvas, and now you are asking me to cover it up. Well, that's okay, because what we're going to do is we're going to allow the design to shine through when we peel up the vinyl. And what I really love about it is that you get to be artistic by creating the background, but then you also get to have that little bit of perfectionist impulse fulfilled by being able to put down your stencil and rely on your stencil for the actual design to come through. So I just feel like it's the best of both worlds. And this is also really fun for kids. Now, I'll say the first time that I did this with my daughter, she cried when I told her we were going to paint over her design. But I feel like if you just try to have that conversation with them, or maybe wait till they're a little older, I think my daughter was 5, and then you can really have a good time and let them pick, designs or shapes that are best suited for them. This gives them an artistic outlet. And for any of you moms that are like me, that you always fight that impulse to take over when they're doing arts and crafts, well, now you don't have to, because you can let them be as artistic as they want to be, and you still can have a pretty piece of artwork that you can tell what it is. Okay, so after you have sufficiently applied the first coat, go ahead and wipe off some of that excess paint. Now remember, we're not applying any pressure to our brush, okay? We are just simply wiping off the excess paint and dragging our brush right across the surface. Okay, because if we leave a lot of paint on there, it's going to take forever to dry, and that's not what we want. So we're going to let this dry, and then we will come back and put on a second coat to help cover up the rest of that orange. Okay, so I have already painted the second coat and I grabbed a pair of tweezers. Now, you guys know I'm the impatient crafter, so after your second coat or your third, depending on how many you want to do, you can go ahead and start to peel the vinyl. I like to start at the top and work my way down, but of course, you know, whatever works for you. Just try to make sure that you're getting the vinyl and that you're not piercing the canvas underneath. And there we go. Now you want to be careful with your sides because you probably have some paint that ran off the edges. And if you have any paper or paint that is stuck, then you can go around the edge with a razor or even a piece of sandpaper. And there we go. That's what we got for our project. So, what did you guys think about the hot mess canvas? Hopefully now you can see, you know, it's a nice even mix between having that kind of creative freedom. Even if you're not artistic, you do not have to be artistic to do this, trust me. You can take any pattern. You don't have to do stripes. You can do splotches. You can do circles. You can do whatever your little heart desires. So I'm really glad that you guys joined me today. Hopefully you enjoyed the project. If you have any questions or comments, make sure you leave them below. And as always, make sure you subscribe to the channel because we have some really fun stuff planned for you right around the corner. So thanks again. We will see you next time.